spinny thing. And we're live.
Word.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Since we don't have any sponsors, I'm not going to dive into 5 minutes of, hey, you should drink Four Sigmatic and you should do this or do that. So I'm not going to plug anything. But unlike last week, today we have a topic and it's going to end with actionable things for you to do. The topic is motivation. Hello, Josh and Jake.
Hey.
Hola.
How are we holding up in the midst of wearing gas masks to the grocery store?
Speaking of gas masks, that's just something I'm used to. No. Being in the military joke, right? No, I'm actually doing really well. So I'm enjoying this for what it is, not because we're in it or that we're here, but taking every opportunity to make every moment valuable. So I'm really enjoying it.
Cool.
Yeah, like I was saying before we started, I've kind of fallen into a rhythm now. So I feel like it's getting better. It's a little more easy to manage. I did have the same thing happen this week that happened last week, where I thought yesterday was Thursday until about noon or so, and then I realized that I'm like, oh, it's still Wednesday. So
Same.
I don't know if that's a positive or not, but I guess it's not a terrible thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been talking about that. It's like everything's blending together. It's the constant weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Word.
So, do we have any jokes or amusing anecdotes before we get into today's topic?
No, damn it. I should have saved the jokes that I've been looking at. Like, these memes have been crushing it lately.
Actually, the best one I've seen, you know how on social everybody's sending around these stupid games that are like, your whatever name is this, or respond to the 10 things that you freaking hate or whatever.
Yeah.
So the best one that I've seen is without looking or thinking, enter in your name, credit card number, expiration date, and CVC code. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that one's awesome.
That was good.
Hopefully somebody does it.
Have you heard of the naked challenge? So
No.
I guess like couples or
what is
whatever,
that?
people are just getting naked and going into a room and just like, hey, letting it hang out and see what happens. So
Oh,
I've
that's
seen
cool.
it where it's like husband and wife or like fiance or whatever. But the funniest one I saw was a son had taken a shower, took his towel off, and walked into the middle of a family conversation, and everybody just freaked out. That was a pretty good one.
I gotta find, our friend Klokov has had some really good content lately,
Oh yeah.
I'm
and
actually.
I gotta
working on
find
a-
this one.
I'm working on a post with him right now.
Oh
It's
yeah,
it's the shot of his training space with the teddy bear and
Yeah.
like the flowers in the background with the wallpaper. It's
oh that's the best.
pretty awesome.
Oh, he pulled it. Dang it!
You took it down?
No, the one I was looking for, it was like a couple of pictures, and one of them is like him. Oh, here we go. Yes, I found it. Okay, I can share it. Okay, hold on. So this is all of us right now after I get here. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, so this is all of us right now on the podcast. We're wearing a suit and tie. We're very, very much business. And then if you go to the next picture, he has no pants, and he has 2 empty giant bottles of beer and a hookah,
And a hookah.
under the table.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody on his Zoom meeting can see. So thank you, Dimitri. And then what is that?
That's pretty
Wait,
cool.
I lost Josh. Hold on.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
there we
Josh.
go. That was like if you put 2 mirrors like against each other and then it like never
Yeah.
ends.
It just goes
Yeah, I didn't know
forever.
that would happen. So, okay, cool. Today's topic is motivation. For those of you guys who don't know, you better know if you're one of our members. I have been doing strategy calls with every single member, at least every other week, but most people are doing weekly. And a lot of things come up in these calls. And one of the common themes right now with being stuck at home is they're on two extremes. Either they're extremely motivated for their health and fitness, and they're like crushing it right now because they have more time, or the opposite. They're like really struggling to just work out or do anything. And they came to our gym because we would motivate them when they got here. So I wanted to dig into that a little bit and discuss motivation. But with you guys, Jake and Josh, you two are highly motivated individuals for health, both in the fitness realm and nutrition. So I kind of wanted to just pick your brains to see how you stay motivated, or maybe you were born that way. Whatever it is, I'd like to hear your take, and then I'll just kind of talk through some of the psychological aspects that I've been going through with clients. So yeah, I don't care who wants to start, but I'd like to hear.
Okay, Josh, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go first. So for me, it's all about creating a purpose, right? We always have to have something that we're striving for. Typically, I find that if I don't have any goals, I become stagnant. I don't have anything to look forward to in the day. So I typically like to create small goals throughout the day, whether it be, what I'm going to eat for breakfast, stuff like that. I typically plan for the day before. Nutrition wise, what I've done is I've gone back to meal prepping. So stuff that I do on a normal basis outside of this whole unique situation that we're in, I want to stick to normal as possible, right? So I want to keep my mind going like it's day to day. So I look forward to each meal because it's already prepped. I don't have to spend extra time cooking, which I do here and there, but I found that I'm spending more time cooking, and it's kind of taking away from other things that I want to get done. So it's almost like I've overloaded my plate. So I've actually gone back to meal prepping, specifically just lunch and dinner sort of things. Breakfast, I don't mind getting up and still making. I like to have that fresh in the morning, especially since that's my favorite meal. But as far as meal prepping, I still have my meals that I set out that I'm going to eat at a certain time, or, after I finish a workout or whatever. So I want to keep that normal because that's what keeps me motivated, is I don't have to plan out my day specifically for foods and stuff. I already have that prepped, ready to go, just like I would in a normal day-to-day setting. As far as getting stuff done throughout the day, I typically like to continue to make lists. I do it more now than I have in the past, because usually my days are pretty much the same back to back in normal life. So I don't typically have to keep a list. But since we're here, it's easy to get stagnant and kind of lost and maybe stuck in the moment. So I found that if I have a list, maybe a ladder to build on, keep those baby steps going, that I still have some kind of motivation to continue out the day. So I have something to look forward to once something's done.
Is the list just a reminder of your why, or is your list just like this boring to-do list, or is it like, because I'm trying to figure out what is motivating you, right? Because a lot of people do to-do lists. Yeah. But is it like, oh, I remember my goals now that I see this list? Is it like that?
Yeah, totally. So my lists are in line with my goals. So like school, for example, I set out time for homework because that's an ultimate goal that I'm trying to complete, right? I have my fitness goals, so I want to make sure that I'm still lifting at the regular time that I normally would. So I want to incorporate that. So everything on my list is oriented goal-wise. It's not just abstract things that I put on there just to get done. Like, it's not like I need to clean or, take out the trash at this time. It's stuff that's goal driven. So it's something that I'm looking at as a bigger picture, school being one, fitness being one, nutrition being one. And those are my three things. And then I also have smaller ones on there. Like I've incorporated me time. So like my breathing, I've put that in there, like meditation. I typically have a time that I take a shower at night. So I know that I'm still keeping a bedtime schedule sort of thing. So I'm not, trying to stay up as late as I can and then waking up late. Like I still want to keep that structure. but everything is goal oriented. It has something to do with what's going on outside of this as well. So it's not just keeping myself busy. I have to look at a bigger picture of what's keeping me motivated. So those are the simple things that are keeping me motivated day to day, and then also just having the want to fulfill those things, right? The desire. So creating those powerful goals that are fulfilling me in a joyous way, not so much just I have to get it done like it's a have to, but because I want to. That's the biggest thing too. Creating an actionable plan that is goal oriented and then keeps me motivated to keep moving forward.
So what are a couple of your goals then? Like, you can just throw out fitness or school or whatever, like specifically what are the goals that you're working towards?
So of course, my number one goal would be education. I need to get that finished and completed, especially with this semester. It's a little bit more difficult now that we're going online, especially for somebody who likes to go to class and have that interaction with teachers and stuff. This is a lot more difficult. I've never been a fan of online schooling, but of course I have to adapt and be flexible with that. So it's created a new challenge to overcome. Fitness, of course, a lifelong fitness goal. That'll never die, especially with what I'm doing now. I really enjoy the process of doing things rather than the outcome. Now, don't get me wrong. We always want a goal to, increase weight and stuff, but I'm typically the person that really enjoys the process of doing things rather than the outcome itself, because I know I get more fulfillment out of that day to day, because that's what keeps me happy. Another goal that really like my why sort of thing is really self-development, I guess, so to speak, working on being aware of my thoughts, controlling those in an aspect sort of setting. I really want to be a better communicator to other humans, right? Because nutrition is all about communication. So having those really fulfills all that for me.
Love it. All right. Jake, what motivates you?
For me, it has to do with I guess it has to do with like the value of time and how it relates to hard work. So for me, it's a fear of like moving backward, because I spent so much time trying to get to the point where I'm at in my life currently in terms of like my fitness and personal development, just becoming a better person, that if I stop doing the things that lead to consistent and never-ending improvement, and I were to look forward into the future, say like 5 years or so, or say at the end of this quarantine when we all get out of our houses, the big question is that I like to ask myself is what do I have to show for it? Like during all that time when I was doing something, or I could have been doing something to try and better my life and become a better person, was I actually using that time to its full advantage and actually taking advantage of being able to like read books or figure out how to communicate better or do consistently train? That way I stay healthy and I'm able to, be functionally fit well into my later years or something like that. So that's a main motivating factor for me. And I think another part of it has to do with just kind of how I was wired and how I was brought up. A lot of my family members are pretty blue collar, and we do have a pretty militaristic background too. So it's do your job, do it well, do the best you possibly can, and don't be lazy. That's pretty much just how I approach a lot of things, which is kind of interesting now that I'm saying it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
but it makes a lot of sense, because now as you've said that, it's like I can see that in a lot of different aspects in you, and it's true, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
to understand that bird's eye. So
mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess I'll touch on mine, but then I want to do this analysis, and I think it's going to be kind of cool. So I'm not going to go too in depth with this, because if I start going down this road, we're going to be here for another 3 hours. So I've defined 8 categories in my life that I'm working on improving. So, and I've actually gone through this exercise where I'm helping some of my higher level clients who I'm doing custom programming and even nutrition for now, I'm having them go through the same exercise so I can understand and help them in the right areas. So just for example, nutrition, fitness, all this kind of stuff, it's all in the health category. It's all in one of the 8 categories for me. Other ones are like business, family, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So where I'm at in my life now is I'm strong in some categories, I'm medium in others, and I'm low in other ones. So my focus is on kind of rounding everything out. I guess it's kind of like the level method for life. That's a pretty good idea. Don't steal that. Okay. But for me, I always, what I've been trying to get people to do on calls is to stop thinking about things like goals, because goals, and you'll see where I'm going with this. It's not that they're wrong. If you want to think of them as an outcome is going to happen either way. Where if you fall short of your goal, it's like, you failed, right? But if the outcome is that you did not meet your goal, then you change the path, and it's just this constant evolution. So it's just a different framework. So once you identify the outcome that you seek, you then think about the purpose, and then of course the little actions. So it's OPA. The outcome is like the big thing that you want to get to. So for me, with my 8 categories, I have a vision of this human being that I want to become. And if one of these 8 categories isn't rounded out, then I am not going to be that guy that I have in my vision. So every single day we've been talking on this podcast about our morning routines. In my template for my journal, I review that outcome, and it helps me to plan out exactly the things that I need to do. So part of this in health and fitness is that I want to be strong, right? I can't be a strong person if I don't lift weights. It's impossible. So I need to lift weights 3 to 4 days a week to be strong, because if I'm strong, I feel better. So that's just part of it. So if I'm feeling a little bit run down or lazy or whatever, I'm not feeling very motivated, like a lot of these people I've been talking to on the calls, then I open up my journal and I remember, this is the guy that I want to be. Is this guy going to just sit on the freaking couch and play Xbox? Or is he going to go lift something? Is he going to go pick up something heavy and put it down? The guy I want to be is going to lift something heavy and put it down. And, he might eat a couple of Reese's eggs, but overall he's eating pretty well. Okay. So what I thought was interesting about Josh and Jake, we did not script this. This just happened randomly. Okay. In psychology, all motivation, and it's not always the same for every individual. It's not even the same every day. All motivation is either moving towards something, towards an outcome, or away from pain. Okay. So with Josh, we're moving towards a goal, constantly striving towards this outcome. And Jake was moving away because he's worked so hard to get to where he has been. So he's fearing that pain of going back there. So I thought that was like, you couldn't have scripted that any better. And I actually thought Jake was going to be more towards, because when you look at Jake and his process orientation with his weightlifting, it's very, very regimented. He's going to get it done no matter what. He'll say, F your feelings. He lives that like to the T. And now it's interesting to hear that it's more moving away from something that he doesn't want to be rather than moving towards. So that was really cool. And there's no right or wrong. It's just the way you think about different things. So like for me, in my 8 categories, some of them are towards, some of them are away, and some days are different from others. So some days, if I don't, again, same example, if I don't feel like lifting weights and I just backtracked because I had twins and I didn't lift for months, and now I can squat 315 again for reps, I'm going to squat again because I don't want to go back to a place where 225 feels heavy. That's painful to me. I hate that guy. The guy that thinks 225 is heavy is not me. Okay. So with all this, it's a good framework, but to kind of start to flip it into action here, there's another thing I want to touch on, and it's how motivation is related to success. And this is more, both of these guys kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's more what Josh was going after. Josh has his checklist and he's getting everything done. And I talked about backing an outcome down to a purpose and an action. So everybody thinks that they're motivated for success. So if you look at my 8 categories and one of them is my business, and everybody thinks like, oh, I'm motivated to make the business successful. Well, actually, the success leads to the motivation. And this is the same in fitness. So if you just start working out and you're squatting and you can barely do an air squat, and then 4 to 6 weeks later, you can squat 95 pounds, that's a big win. You're having success, which inspires you and motivates you to keep going. And like Jake, you don't want to go back to the person who can't squat less than 100 pounds. So it's all related. And this is essentially where I wanted to go on this podcast, just so we have an understanding and a framework for how motivation exists in our psychology. Okay, so what is actionable from this? What I've been talking about on the calls is kind of doing what I do, not to the extent that I do it, unless you really want to go. This would take you weeks to go through, but imagining somebody you want to be. With men, I typically say, if you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you have to do the things that he does. You have to imagine that. And every single day when you're like, ooh, I'm not motivated. So just think about what Arnold would say. He'd say, put the cookie down, or if it's CT Fletcher, it's still your motherfucking set, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So once you pick these people who you want to be like, a lot of the girls who I talk to want to be like Camille. She was a CrossFit Games athlete. Okay. She looks good. She's not like all bodybuilder-ish, even though she's trying to be now. So would Camille skip out on her workout? Or, you know, if her coach said you're trying to lose some body fat and it would be helpful not only to exercise, but to walk and move throughout the day, would she skip out on that and get all bummed out? No, she wouldn't. She's going to get it done no matter what. And if she has a nutrition coach and the nutrition coach says, eat this, not that, Camille or Arnold is absolutely going to eat this, not that. So when you've really identified it, these are extreme examples. I tend to get people to not go to these ones because, again, they're going to get successes sooner if they get something a little bit more attainable. But picking some person or even envisioning themselves the way they eventually want to be, this is what they have to keep coming back to. Okay. So now that you guys know that I just kind of demonstrated your goals just as like clients, essentially, all that said, coming back, how do you envision yourself, Josh and Jake, like with all this context, and maybe even talk about how some success has kept you to keep motivated? Like Jake, especially, I know that his lifts have before this all happened anyway, he was looking so strong. So I totally get what he's saying, because those was like big success and it's causing him to be more motivated. Or maybe Josh, you're envisioning yourself. So now that we have all this context, I'd just like to hear your perspective.
Yeah. So projecting myself into the future on who I want to be or the ultimate outcome of who I am, like, of course, fitness successful with that, always going up in weight. And depending on what program and what goals I have for that specific time frame for fitness, like, am I always progressing? And yeah, like creating that list and making those baby steps and acquiring those goals as we go keeps the motivation going, right? So making small steps for me creates small successful goals that I'm always reaching, right? So I'm always attaining a small goal just to reach the next, which layers upon layer, which you ultimately have a bigger goal, right? Same thing with school, is same thing, completing assignments, being successful with that, which creates more motivation to continue on, right? Because I've laid this foundation of success, which creates joy in me. And by creating that joy, I'm able to create growth, right? So looking at it like that and those lines, like each individual step of success builds on which keeps motivating me to go. Now, as far as the personal standpoint, developing my mental aspect, learning new steps, incorporating those into the process right away and seeing if I can create change in another human being, like those small steps of success, like having a client do something they said they couldn't do, or seeing the weight fall off, like those creating small successes in those people ultimately create motivation in both of us, right? To continue on and create an overall goal that we're completing. So the small individual steps ultimately create the bigger goal of success.
Hell yeah.
Okay. I'm a little confused. Is there any way you can explain it just a little bit better? Or explain it again? Because I have an idea how you want me to answer, but I'm also not entirely
Well,
sure.
there's no certain way I want you to answer. It's just so essentially we identified that you're motivated by moving away from pain.
Okay.
And then we talk about motivation related to success.
Mhm.
So you've had some success early on, and so your pain of going back is what is actually keeping you motivated right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what you said. So,
No, that's true. That's true.
so I just thought it was interesting. And then if you were to take another step out of that and you were to go like outcome based, who is the guy that you're trying to be?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's a deep one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's for me, helping people is a big driver for a lot of things I do. So I think along the personal development lines, anything I can read or learn from other people that are a little more experienced in, say, either coaching or things like that, to actually help me get to somebody who's actually, able to help almost every single person. That's kind of where I would like to be. I know you can't obviously help every single person because sometimes it just doesn't work, but at the same time, that would be something I would try and strive for, because the more people I can help, the better, in my opinion. That's kind of what I want to do.
So you see almost you're even more motivated because you're also leading by example, because you're a better coach because you've been through it. So you want to experience it in all the hell that it is, just so you can actually translate that into being a better coach and helping other people.
I like that. That's nice.
I would
have to get it into bite-sized chunks. Yeah.
I would also like to add something to that as well. Like we as humans have the great ability to have a strong memory, and we also have the great ability to have this wonderful imagination, right? Which we project ourselves into the future. Now, having that great ability to imagine things, I would like to say, like, my overall view of an outcome or who I choose or want to be as I attain those levels is ultimately going to be a change of state. Like it's always got to be able to adapt and evolve. So I like the idea of having an idea of where I want to be, but I also want it to be so flexible and so evolving that it's maybe I feel better with the outcome that has come rather than forcing something that maybe isn't working in the moment.
Yes. This is the whole thing. That was perfectly said, because when you're outcome based, you can pivot the plan all the time because it should be constantly evolving. And that's what so many people that start down their fitness journey fail to understand. And it takes me 5 years to get it into their head. That's exactly it.
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Yes.
So on that note too, especially for me, that's something I'm working on. Like that's something that I have a really hard time with, because I have, for me, control is a big deal for me. So like being able to control like a set of circumstances that will hopefully lead to an outcome is a big deal for me. And I'm trying to learn how to just kind of take things as they come and, you know, avoid the frustration that comes with not being able to like have everything the way I exactly wanted it. So that's kind of cool. Like Josh, you're there. I'm trying to get there. Like it's a process.
I can't tell you how long it's taken me to get here and
Yeah.
how much like I don't want to call it research, but it's just learning, you know, learning how to be you, because ultimately everything that is you is your control. Like I can't control who reacts to what or how they identify with things. I can help them and lead them in a general direction and guide them, but ultimately it's on them. And same for me. Like I have that control. Like I'm aware of my emotions. I have the ability to manifest things or fixate on things, but ultimately it's in my control. So if I project myself into the future and that's when I want to be, and I'm so stringent on that pattern, and when it comes to be and I haven't fulfilled that, like that's an ultimate failure, which creates turmoil in me, right? And ultimately my goal is to always be joyful, create life and beauty and love and everything. So if you create flexibility and be able to maneuver around these structured paths, ultimately you're never going to be let down and you're always striving to grow more, right? You're never going to feel that sense of failure because you know life is all of that, right? It's failure, it's successes. So you just have to be able to understand like it's okay. Let's just be flexible. Let's make pivots and we can still get to where we're going. And maybe where we're going will be even better because we learn to be flexible, have these challenges to overcome. So that's kind of where I'm at and trying to create a mindset in me is I have that control. I don't have to be so stringent. I can be flexible. I can overcome. And maybe there's new information that's coming from that that's going to bring more fulfillment. So you just have to be open to all those paths that may open up for you, you know?
I hope a lot of people hear that during this time right now because, you know, they were going to hit the boulder and they were going to beat all the Kenyans or they were going to compete in the world championships, powerlifting or weightlifting or whatever it was. And now they can't swim or lift weights or whatever, and they have to adapt and still realize the outcome in a different way. So that's awesome. So let's let's try not to drag it on, but let's bring it around again. So if you are a person who's like highly motivated right now, you're crushing it, you're hitting all the workouts, keep your foot on the gas pedal. You're going to keep having success. Keep it on right now. Ride it out. If you're one of the other ones that's struggling when they get up in the morning, they don't feel like doing anything. Think about who you want to be and remember all the fitness that you had already built up. Because if you let this thing go on too long, you're going to be in a really bad spot again and in a lot of pain. So whichever one you are, let's get your shit together.
Cool. It's all about joy.
All right.
Create joy and everything will sprout from that.
Thank you for listening, guys. And you'll catch us again next week, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, right here, Thursdays.
Word.